Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that set up over the white community and or over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Jaybe Show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. It's so good to see all of you on this beautiful, windy Sunday afternoon. Thank you so very much. The Jaybe Show is available every single Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is so good to see all of you here today. Why in the world? Okay, yeah, I've got to make sure that's good. So, good to see all of you here today. Just to let you guys know, I also have my own channel called the Jaybe Font channel. It is also in the description below. You guys can actually go to my channel and give me a subscribe there too. You guys can catch me every single Tuesday at 2 p.m. for the Jaybe Font channel. Also, just to let you guys know, if you guys have not already, you guys can also go to our Substack at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com so you guys can get the email notifications whenever we do go live or we post clips. And on top of it, if you guys would like to, you guys can also become a patron on Patreon. By the way, thank you to all the patrons on Patreon for your contributions. Thank you so much. We would not be able to do this without you. Also, thank you to our members. Yes, we have $3.99 memberships with RBN as well. So thank you guys so much for your contributions to the channel. Without you guys, we would not be able to do this as consistently as possible. Also, just to let you guys know, if you guys would like to, we also raise money for our graphics designer, Erin. That's Erin with the E. She does an amazing job. You guys can go to Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout or Cash App $ Mutual Aid Forever so that we can contribute to Erin so that we can pay her what she demands as far as her skills and talents. She does very good work as far as our graphics, and our graphics game has been on point because of Erin. So thank you so very much to her. As usual, I will be going to the chat to say hello to everybody. I'm actually kind of excited because I lost a few pounds, and so I'm actually wearing a shirt that I really couldn't fit. So now I'm just like, I can wear this shirt now, so I feel good about myself. So I'm feeling myself right now. Hey y'all. All right, so good to see all of you here. So we're going to be getting into this discussion, and first off, we have Marcus coming in saying, "I hope the French pull off something big tomorrow, May Day. Haven't heard from their protests in a while." Yeah, I hope so. That would be nice to see a little bit more revamping of the protests for May Day, but you're definitely not going to see it on here as far as, I'm sorry, on corporate media, but you definitely will see it on independent media. Bad Cookies coming in saying, "Sup fam, hit that like button. Thank you so very much." Is that a picture of, what's his name? Is that Joe Kennedy? I think that's Joe Kennedy. I keep thinking about that one time where he had, I guess it was like lip balm, but I guess they had so much on the corner of his mouth that he looked like he was doing something else. But yeah, that just stays stuck in my head. Optimism of the Will comes in saying, "Saw them building a cinder block wall across the main road last week. They're still at it." Cinder block wall. Interesting. Violence says, "Special issue FDIC bank receivership. What in the actual F?" Violence Substack emergency article. Thank you. Mr. Firebird says, "Greetings from a white boomer in the UK." Hello. Nice to have you. Welcome. Have a seat. And just relax. We're going to, by the way, have a beer. Because you're literally like five hours ahead. It's like 6 p.m. where you're at. Have a beer. Chill out. We'll have a conversation. Nice to have you. Terry Connolly's coming in saying, good afternoon, fam. Good to see you, Terry Connolly. All right. We have Sweary Fairy coming in saying, hey, bestie, you're an absolute ray of sunshine on this dreary, rainy Sunday. Oh, thank you. Actually, the sun's out. Yeah, it's very windy, though, today. I love windy days. I love cool, windy days. And if it's sunny, that's even a plus. It doesn't have to be sunny, but, I like to be sunny. But not hot. All right? Because I'm fluffy, and this fluff don't do too good in the heat. Optimism of the Will says, I knew I shouldn't have submitted a forwarding address when I moved. All right. Let's see. We have Corona Ursa coming in saying, hello and nice, Jaybe. Thank you so very much. Net Rando says, looking fire, Jaybe. Oh, thank you very much. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to make your ears bleed with that note. Trauma Queen says, Jaybe, good to see you, Trauma Queen. All right. I love that name. It's a play on Drama Queen, but Trauma Queen. I like that. That's funny. Who else didn't we get to say hello to yet? We have Christian Eleon Ortiz says, looking great and feeling gorgeous, James. Solidarity to all comrades. Thank you so very much. Person with a very wonderfully chiseled chin. I wish my chin looked like that. Dana Fairbanks says, hey, JB and RBM peeps. Hey, good to see you, Dana. Dana be putting out some fire tweets, by the way. If y'all haven't now followed Dana, y'all need to follow Dana, because Dana be doing it. Dana be doing it. I'm sorry, but look, you doing it. I appreciate it. All right. I'll be on a Guinness later. Oh, cool. I never had, I'm not a beer drinker, so because it just doesn't taste good to me. Though, okay, I will say this. Hard apple cider actually hits pretty well. That's the one thing I will say. Other than that, yeah. Any type of ales or beers, yeah, I can't do it. Not me. But hey, you do you. Natalie Williams says, happy Sunday, sunshines. Good to see you. All right. It's moist in New Jersey, Sweary Fairy. Don't get me started. Don't look, y'all haven't got me in trouble in a while, and I'm not trying to get in trouble because I do not want to have to look Sabby, Nick, or CJ in the eye. I can look Rome in the eye because we get down like that, but I cannot look at those other three in the eye and misbehave, because if I do, I'll get a look from them, because they'll be like, JB, what are you doing, man? All right. And then we have Old Man Barker coming in saying, ha, 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 ha. Good to see you, Old Man Barker. Did I miss anybody? I hope not. And Roger Meadow says, no money to spare today, bro. All regular chats. Hope you still read them, because this subject, I'll be sending some fire chats with this subject. Yeah, just put them in. If you're watching on Rockfin side, I'll read them on Rockfin, and if you do it on here, I'll do it on here. But definitely, I got you, Roger. Thank you very much, by the way. All right, and then we have Tommy LeBeau says, hello, Mr. Tommy LeBeau. All right, so I'm going to start off with this first story, because this first story just dropped in my lap earlier today. And look, I understand some of the critiques of people. They're like, call out videos, they're just not very, helpful. Call out videos are they're just blah. And which I agree, 99% of the time. But this 1% time, I got to call, look, there's a reason why I played that clip of Malcolm X in the beginning about talking about black celebrities that are really basically just clowns, because this is clownish behavior. What do I mean? What are we talking about today? Frauds, John Legend and Chrissy Teigen, and then we will get into ESOP versus worker co-op. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is John Legend and his wife, Chrissy Teigen. Now, a lot of people would go, well, what is the significance of who they are and what they did? I mean, they're just celebrities. Like, we all know who they are. But I want to use this as a teachable moment to show you, number one, when it comes to Hollywood, there are no heroes. Now, there may be some that agree with us that actually are fighting or that would be on board, and that's cool. But at the same time, looking to them to be our leaders and our heroes is a complete misstep in actually achieving a more equal and equitable system. Because the system is already doing good for them. And as we can see, and as I will show you, they will not be class traders. They will not be trader class because it's good for them. So you're like, Jaybe, what are you talking about? All right, I got you. So, as you all know, the White House Correspondents dinner was the other night. And, of course, with the White House Correspondents dinner, there's a lot of celebrities that come in there. They come through and they rub shoulders with the corporate and political elite. And technically, the mainstream media is also part of the corporate elite because they're literally owned by corporations. But just as a juxtapose, not even a juxtapose, but it's more of a distinction, is you have the corporate elite, the media elite, and you have the political elite, right? I even hate using the word elite because there's nothing elite about them. It's more greed, but stay with me here. So they were there, but this video I'm about to show is them entering into the White House for the Correspondents' dinner. And we're going to break this down just a little bit. And I made a tweet responding to this, and I'm going to read that to you just so that you guys can know what exactly I'm talking about. I said, the fact that John Legend and Chrissy Teigen walked past climate activists to support a pro-corporate, pro-pollution president tells you everything you need to know. Nothing they say regarding climate change should be taken seriously anymore. Frauds. Why are people still taking them seriously is beyond me. But this is what happened.
Stand with us.
See in the background, it says Biden, end fossil fuels. You see that in the background? Turning a blind eye, baby. That's what they do. Also, by the way, she has people holding the back of her dress while she's walking to the White House Correspondents' dinner, as if she's some princess. Now, I just want to address one thing. Now, a few people in the comments in my tweet are addressing Chrissy Teigen's dress, and they're like, oh my God, she's barely wearing anything, blah, blah, blah. Look, here's my thing I'm going to say regarding Chrissy Teigen's dress. I don't care about her dress. I don't care if she was butt naked. That's irrelevant. What's relevant is the fact that she's walking past climate activists, going into a president who is pro-pollution, And she is turning a blind eye to them, even though she claims to be in solidarity with people like them. The dress doesn't matter. I don't care if she was booty naked. I don't care. By the way, I'm going to be honest with you. I think the dress actually looks nice. The only problem is I think that John Legend should have stepped his game up as far as his tuxedo is concerned. His tuxedo is blah. But that's just from a fashion standpoint. But who cares, right? The main issue is the fact that they are literally walking past climate activists as if they're not even there. And yet they will feign all this different type of, they will screech to their lungs. John Legend will probably even make a song about climate change if you have a Republican president, but nothing for people like Joe Biden. Nothing. Let's continue. By the way, real talk, I think Keke Palmer probably could have wore that dress better. Just saying. So yes, here they are, just walking past, and you literally have people in the background saying, join us. Let's actually fight for the things that actually matter. See, here's the problem with people like John Legend and Chrissy Teigen. Liberals are just like the GOP. I'm going to repeat myself. Liberals are just like the GOP. There's really no difference. They merely cosplay social justice. They cosplay economic justice. But in reality, they don't do a damn thing. And that's the problem. All right? People will sit here and they'll talk about, oh my goodness, well, he talks out about, what the government's doing in regards to climate change. But I haven't heard a word from him since Biden's been in office. Have you? Here's my thing. Keep that same energy with Biden. The energy you had with Trump, keep that same energy. Actually, I should have. And hang on. Let me put up what I actually said too, because I think this is also relevant. And now I'm going to get into the actual facts about, what's so wrong with what they did. But I also continue. I said, if John Legend and Chrissy Teigen truly believed in taking action against climate change, they would have joined those activists outside and protested in their tuxedo and evening gown. Liberals only cosplay social and economic justice. Meanwhile, they're exactly like the GOP. And this guy comes in and says exactly like, no, words have meanings. There's a difference between an imperfect ally and a clear enemy. They're not imperfect allies. They are the enemy. Pied Penguin. They are the enemy because they literally will tell you to your face, oh, well, we're with you. But behind your back, they're actually joining the enemy. Guess what? If they're literally joining the enemy and what's actually what they're doing, then that doesn't mean they're imperfect allies. They are enemies. Talk to me about what an imperfect ally is. Talk to me as a black man, whatever about an imperfect ally is. Because guess what? You can have somebody that's white and, you know, they may get a couple things wrong. They may say a couple wrong things, but then they shift and they go into the right direction, which is more about, you know, social justice and equality. That's fine. But if you have somebody who claims to be a white ally and then they're joining the racists in what they do and what they say, even though they're saying to you to your face what you want to hear, they are still enemies. The same thing with regards to a lot of the things regarding our social, ecologic, and economic justice that we need, they aren't standing for it. When it push comes to shove, when it actually means something, they don't stand for it. And Pi Penguin, I hope you're watching. Because the thing is that people talk about, oh, they're imperfect allies. No, they're not imperfect allies. They are enemies, because if they were truly imperfect allies, then they would have shifted their focus right when it mattered. But they don't shift their focus when it matters, because they'd rather sit there and eat $1,000 a plate dinner at the White House, glad-handing all these corporate oligarchs and these people who are lackeys for corporate oligarchs, instead of actually standing outside and being with the people who are actually fighting for a brighter future. But they don't. So that means they are still enemies. So this is the problem with a lot of liberals and even some progressives. And it's the fact that they will sit there and they will go, oh, well, they're at least trying. No, they're not. No, they're not. Because if they were trying, they would have done it. She would have took off her heels, stood in there, because, you know, those heels probably hurt after standing for a long while. I don't want her feet to hurt. She would have stood out there and been with them. The same thing with John Legend. He would have stood out there. If it was a little bit hot, he would have took off his tuxedo jacket and stood out there and grabbed one of those signs and said, you know what? We don't like what Joe Biden's doing either. We're going to forego the correspondence dinner. That would have made headlines, bro. That would have made so many headlines. And that would have made Joe Biden look bad. And of course, Joe Biden needs to look bad. And people are like, well, what about Republicans? He is a Republican. Democrats are Republicans and Republicans are Democrats. They are all the same. Nothing is different. Nothing. Because just like the Republicans would have broke the strike for the rail workers, guess what Democrats did? They broke the strike with the rail workers. Guess who's spearheading the Willow Project? Isn't it Joe Biden? Guess who would have also spearheaded the Willow Project? A Republican president. It doesn't matter. So this is the thing. And a lot of people really need to get, you know, with the program and stop thinking. And this is why I responded to him. I said what I said. I said what I said. They are exactly like. Prove to me otherwise in their actions. If you can't, then guess what? I'm right. I don't want to be right, but I am. And that's the problem. Now, let me share this, because people really need to know, like, how egregious this is. And then you cannot take these people seriously. Any of them. This is from biologicaldiversity.org, right? Look at this headline. It says, new data, Biden's first year drilling permits stomps Trump's by 34%. It says new federal data shows that Biden's administration approved 3,557 permits for oil and gas drilling on public lands in his first year, far outpacing Trump's administration first year total of 2,658. Nearly 2,000 of the drilling permits were approved on public lands administered by the Bureau of Land Management's New Mexico office, followed by 843 in Wyoming, 285 in Montana and North Dakota, and 191 in Utah. In California, the Biden administration approved 187 permits, more than twice the 71 drilling permits Trump approved in the state in the first year. Yo, if you guys come here and tell me, oh, well, Biden's a little bit different, like Biden's better than Trump, blah, 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 blah. Facts don't care about your feelings. Guess what? They are exactly the same. So people can go, oh, well, Biden is the lesser of two evils. Is this lesser? I'm sorry. Hang on. Let me blow this up. Is this lesser evil? Lesser? 34% more? Is that lesser? Last time I checked, that was actually more. Quote, Biden's runaway drilling approvals are a spectacular failure of climate leadership. That was said by Taylor McKinnon of the Center for Biological Diversity. Quote, avoiding catastrophic climate change requires ending new fossil fuel extraction, but Biden is racing in the opposite direction. Because that's the direction he was always going. It's just you guys believe the lie. Y'all believe the lie. And then you guys went against us and said that we were wrong for telling you guys that neither party is good for you because they're going to lead to our destruction. And every single time we said it, people were like, oh, well, would you rather have Trump? Guess what? He's just a lighter skinned Trump. That's it. That's all he is. He's just less orange. That's right. I said it. Orange. He's less orange. And so you guys can talk about, oh, well, one is better than the other, when in reality, I don't see a difference. And you guys need to wake up and start smelling the coffee. Golly, man. And this is what pisses me off. People will say, oh, well, one's better than the other, when in reality, it's not. It says on Wednesday, more than 360 climate conservation, indigenous, environmental justice, and community groups petitioned the Biden administration to use its executive authority to phase out oil and gas production on public lands and oceans. The petition provides a framework to manage a decline of oil and gas production to near zero by 2035 through rulemaking using long dormant provisions of the Mining Leasing Act, Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act, and the National Emergencies Act. Without such action, it will become increasingly difficult for the United States to meet its pledge to help avoid 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming and its unprecedented social, environmental, and economic damage. Background, it says peer-reviewed science estimates that a nationwide federal fossil fuel leasing ban will reduce carbon emissions by 280 million tons per year, ranking it among the most ambitious federal climate policy proposals in recent years. Oil, gas, and coal extraction use mines, well past gas lines and roads, and other infrastructure that destroys habitat for wildlife, including threatened and endangered species. Oil spills and other harms from offshore drilling have done immense damage to ocean wildlife and coastal communities. Fracking and mining also pollute watersheds and waterways and provide drinking water to millions of people. Federal fossil fuels that have not been leased to industry contain up to 450 billion tons of potential climate pollution. Those already leased to industry contain up to 43 billion tons. This is one of the biggest problems. And this is why you should not take people like John Legend and Chrissy Teigen seriously. Because they have computers just like me. They can search for these things just like I do. They can find out all this information just like me. But they rather rub shoulders with these monsters instead of joining the people and fighting with them. They don't care. Another article. This is also a big thing that a lot of people seem to forget almost immediately. Alaska's Willow Project is controversial. Here's why. The Biden administration is approving a major oil project on Alaska's petroleum-rich North Slope that supporters say represents the economic lifeline for indigenous communities in the region, but environmentalists say it is counter to President Joe's climate goals. This decision on ConocoPhillips' Alaska Willow Project and a federal oil reserve roughly the size of Indiana was revealed Monday. What is the Willow Project? The project could produce up to 180,000 barrels of oil a day, according to the company, about 1.5% of total U.S. oil production. Willow is currently the largest proposed oil production on U.S. public land. Alaska Republican U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan said that the development could be one of the biggest, most important resource development projects in our state's history. So that's what's going on top of the drilling permits that was approved by Biden last year. So it just keeps getting worse. And a lot of people will go, well, this is not that bad. Is Trump probably would have done worse. No, Trump is probably upset that he isn't doing this right now. So this is from the Willow Project Explained Reasonably. And he's starting off with what is the Willow Project.
So that's what I want to give you all today, is just the information you need to understand the Willow Project. All right, let's start with where this project even is. As you've probably heard, it's in far northern Alaska, but more specifically, it's located on a piece of federal public land called the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska, the NPRA. The NPRA is 23 million acres and is the single largest piece of public land in America. It was originally established as the Naval Petroleum Reserve number 4 in 1923 by President Warren Harding. It was just that, a naval oil reserve. This was right around the time the U.S. Navy was switching its ships over to petroleum power, and several of these preserves were established in case of an emergency, so the Navy wouldn't run out of oil. You may remember these from the Teapot Dome scandal, which 3 of these reserves were part of. Anyway, let's fast forward to 1976, and the Naval Petroleum Reserve number 4 is transferred from the Department of the Navy to the Department of the Interior, where it came under the management of the Bureau of Land Management and renamed to the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. Again, the NPRA. After the transfer, there were 2 laws which authorized oil and gas exploration on the reserve, subject to the proper administrative procedures. The Naval Petroleum Reserves Production Act of 1976 and the Department of Interior Appropriations Act of 1981. Now, even after these authorizations, there wasn't a lot of drilling on the reserve. The land remained relatively undisturbed, serving as the home for millions of birds, one of the largest caribou herds on Earth, musk ox, Arctic fox, wolves, grizzly and polar bears, moose, seals, whales, and walruses, as well as, of course, native Alaskans. In fact, there are 4 special areas, that's actually what they're called. There are 4 special areas within the reserve that are supposed to be managed so that any oil exploration is, quote, conducted in a manner which will assure the maximum protection of such surface values to the extent consistent with the requirements of this act for the exploration of the reserve. These areas are the Teshekpuk Lake, Colville River, Utah Highlands, and the Kasagalik Lagoon. Essentially, these are sensitive areas which are supposed to be treated with a little more scrutiny when it comes to decision making. Again, this all takes place on the NPRA, and this is the backdrop on which the Willow Project is now the subject of debate. Now, the Willow Project will be developed by ConocoPhillips on the far eastern perimeter of the NPRA, near the native village of Nuksut. As originally proposed, the Willow Project would have included 5 drilling pads and a total of 250 oil wells, but as currently approved, it will include 3 drilling pads and 199 wells. The project will include development within 2 of those special areas I mentioned above, the Teshekpuk Lake and the Colville River. And even with this size reduction, this will still be the largest oil extraction project ever undertaken on federal public lands. The Willow Project is estimated to cost between $8 and $10 billion and generate around 186,000 barrels of oil per day, totaling 576 million barrels over the course of its 30-year development cycle. Oil is not expected to be extracted from the site for another 8 to 10 years. It will disturb just under 500 acres of area on the surface and will, of course, require the construction of infrastructure typically associated with oil extraction. This includes hundreds of miles of pipelines and roads, both gravel and ice, an airstrip, a gravel mine, a processing facility, which includes a 98 megawatt power plant, lots of heavy machinery, and lots of vehicles. All right, next let's move on to a timeline of how we got where we are. 1999, ConocoPhillips obtains their first leases to extract oil in the MPRA in the area that would ultimately become the Willow Project. 2015, ConocoPhillips discovers massive oil deposits within their lease area. In 2018, they begin the process of obtaining permits to drill for oil, and in 2020, the Trump administration issues an environmental impact statement approving the original 5-pad proposal. In 2021, this approval was vacated by the District Court of Alaska and sent back to the BLM for 3 reasons. 1, they didn't include global greenhouse gas emissions in their calculations. 2, they improperly assumed that the leases held by ConocoPhillips entitled them to extract, quote, all possible oil. And 3, they didn't afford, quote unquote, maximum protection for the Teshekpok Lake Special Area. So BLM goes back, addresses the court's concerns, and in July of 2022 issues another environmental impact statement, and in February of this year issues their final decision. President Biden then approves the project on March 13th. All right, now let's talk about the Biden administration's rationale here. A lot of people have been wondering why this administration would have approved a project like Willow, given his campaign promises.
No more drilling on federal lands, no more drilling, including offshore. No.
He knew he was lying at that point. Y'all knew he was lying at that point. He knew, and y'all knew. Yet, some people, some liberals were like, well, he's the pro-science president. And yet, now, he's going the exact direction as the people who you guys deem, well, not y'all, but a lot of liberals deem as the fascist president. I'll put it to you this way. If it walks like a fascist, talks like a fascist, and acts like a fascist,
No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period.
And the commitments his administration has already made to tackle climate change, such as the Inflation Reduction Act. According to several legal experts, the Biden administration might have had its hands tied, legally speaking. Because ConocoPhillips has owned these leases since the late 1990s, they have essentially a legal right to develop them.
But that's because of the whole system, right? That's because the system is the way it's set up. And ultimately, whenever we talk about upending the system and making it more better, more equal, more equitable, that also includes the laws and the courts. Because the thing is that if they're not going to do right by us, then they're really illegitimate as far as I'm concerned. They really have no authority, really, as far as the people is concerned. They're in place to legitimize the corporations and what they want to do. That's all they're really there for. They're not really there to fight for us or to provide justice for what we want as a people.
This line of thinking goes, the Biden administration didn't want to challenge that right in court and undertake a multi-billion-dollar taxpayer-funded lawsuit only to see the project approved anyway. Instead, again, according to the Biden administration, they decided to move forward with a scaled-down project and impose additional restrictions on oil exploration elsewhere in the MPRA. This includes...
It's funny because they didn't want to use taxpayer-funded. These are the same federal government that took billions and billions and billions of dollars to prop up the stock market. Why don't you just use the same type of, means that you did to prop up the stock market and take some of that money and then go ahead. Yeah, do the lawsuits. Go ahead. Push Congress to change the laws. Oh, but yeah, no, we can't do that. It's going to be too much taxpayer funded money. We can't do. No, we just gotta go ahead with it. I'm sorry. Just gonna have to suffer. Dear God.
Includes the elimination of 2 of the 5 originally proposed wells, one of which would have posed a significant threat to the aforementioned Teshekpok Lake. By their own admission, this will reduce the amount of fresh water needed for the project and eliminate 11 miles of roads, 20 miles of pipelines, and 133 acres of gravel. Also, 68,000 acres of ConocoPhillips leases will be returned to the federal government. In addition to the size reduction, the Biden administration will limit or restrict oil drilling on an additional 13 million acres within the NPRA, as well as 3 million acres offshore in the Beaufort Sea planning area.
I honestly do not believe that they're going to allow that to continue. They honestly are just going to. They're going to turn a blind eye. Watch. They're going to look the other way. That's honestly what I think.
98% of which has already been protected under the Obama administration. It is worth noting here, though, that these actions are subject to change under future administrations. These are not permanent protections. All right.
See what I said? See what I said? God, I hate being correct on these things.
So that's the Willow Project in terms of what was approved, what will be built, and what will be extracted. Now, let's talk about who is in favor of the project and why, and who is opposed to the project and why. Let's start with the proponents. Of course, the oil and gas industry, particularly ConocoPhillips, is in favor of the project. They stand to make billions of dollars here, so no need to go into too much detail on that one. In addition, Alaska's entire bipartisan congressional delegation, including Republican Senators Lisa Murkowski and Dan Sullivan, as well as Democratic Representative Mary Peltola, who is the first Alaska Native ever elected to Congress, are all in support of the project, as well as.
By the way, just because she's an Alaskan Native, like we Black people know, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Let's just be real. How many people who are indigenous probably would be condemning that person for making a decision and supporting something like that?
Several unions. Many indigenous communities, including the Arctic Slope Regional Corporation, are in favor of the project. There are indigenous communities opposed to the project as well, but we'll talk about them in a minute. Now, in general, the arguments in favor of the Willow Project tend to be economic. They talk about the need to reduce our dependence on foreign oil, particularly from authoritarian states like Russia and Saudi Arabia, and about the revenue and jobs the project will provide to local communities. According to the Bureau of Land Management, the Willow Project will generate 2,500 jobs and up to $17 billion in federal tax revenue. The Naval Petroleum Reserves Production Act states that 50% of this revenue is required to be distributed to the state of Alaska. The act also stipulates that priority for that funding is required to go to the communities most affected by development, i.e. those closest and most impacted by the Willow Project. In addition.
But will it really, though? Is it really going to go to them? And by the way, if you punch me in the face and then give me money from my medical bills or some of my medical bills afterwards, would I rather get punched in the face and then have to use that money to go to the doctor, or would I rather just not get punched in the face? I'd rather just not get punched in the face. See what I mean? Would you rather in your car get hit by a car and then somebody pay you for the damages, or just not get hit by another car? See the reasoning here? I'd just rather not get hit. And yet they're like, well, we're gonna give you guys some of the proceeds, but you're still damaging overall the ecology of the area. You're still damaging our environment. You're still making it so that the future is bleak for our kids and grandkids. Never mind giving us a few bones, while we're subjecting the future generations to a planet that they can't inhabit.
A fiscal analysis by the state of Alaska concluded that the project could generate over $5 billion for the state, $1 billion for the North Slope Borough, and $4 billion for the local communities most affected by Willow, all by the year 2053. All right, now let's talk about those who are opposed to the Willow project and why. This includes most environmental organizations and activists, as well as a few indigenous communities, including the village of Nuksut, the community closest to where Willow will be taking place. Now,
as that, Nuksut, the village that is close by, just to address this person, Rick Bungle says, dude, who cares what happens in northern Alaska? The Nuksut people do. Also, while I'm at it, if I knew in my house that there was some dangerous gas, right, that was being let out in one room in a house that nobody really goes in, I can go, who cares what happens in that room? Nobody ever goes in there. But the problem is it can still affect the entire house being our planet. See what I mean? And see, that's the thing. And see, this is the type of thinking. Don't be like this person, because that's the type of thinking is, I got mine, fuck all y'all, you go get yours. No. Because the thing is, you're taking, you're basically saying that the rest of the planet doesn't matter as long as it doesn't directly affect you. But it does. It does. So what are you talking about, right? Then you continue with this shitty ass take, says nobody even lives there anyway. The Nuksut people do. A lot of animals that are really essential to our biodiversity do. Come on. Are you serious right now? Did you really come in to this chat to say all that BS? And not realize the fact that you're going to be indirectly affected no matter what. Tell me you don't care about the rest of humanity in this planet without telling me you don't care about humanity or the rest of this planet. Are you for real right now? And tell me you don't care about the indigenous Nuksut people in that area without telling me you don't care about them. Oh yeah, fuck them. By the way, the Nuksut people are your cousins. Every single person on this planet is related to each other one way or another. So that's literally your cousins. And you're saying, oh, fuck them. Gonna doom us all to hell, man. I'm telling you.
The opposing argument you've most likely heard is about climate. Environmental organizations are calling the project a carbon bomb, which, when all the oil is extracted, used, and burned, will generate 239 million metric tons of carbon dioxide, or an equivalent thereof, over 30 years, roughly 9.2 million tons annually. To give you some perspective, the United States generates 5.6 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. Opponents state that approving the Willow project only further increases our dependence on fossil fuels and locks us into more carbon emissions at a time when we should be focusing on reducing our carbon emissions as much as possible. In addition, the BLM's own analysis predicts effects that are quote-unquote long-term and of high intensity for the region's indigenous communities, particularly the village of Nuksut. This includes a negative impact on these communities' ability to conduct subsistence hunting, which forces them to eat store-bought food, which is more expensive, less nutritious, and further contributes to food scarcity in the region. This is not to mention the fact that subsistence hunting is a cultural practice these communities have carried out for thousands of years. The analogy
is really partially indigenous erasure. That's really what it is. Like, let's be real. It's erasure of indigenous communities to Alaska. You know what else we call erasure of a people? We call it genocide.
Analysis also notes that the inability to practice their subsistence lifestyle, as well as air and noise pollution and overall stressful conditions, could lead to negative public health outcomes like anxiety and depression. The BLM acknowledges that these impacts are already being felt, stating, quote, rapid modernization and development, as well as other multiple stressful conditions, including significant changes in diet, housing, and traditional culture, has led to negative health outcomes, including suicide, end quote. Overall, quote, the effects on subsistence and sociocultural systems may be highly adverse and disproportionately borne by the Nuksut population.
Genocide. Genocide. At a slow pace.
End quote. Other concerns include the potential for negative impacts on wildlife like caribou and migratory birds, the potential for thawing permafrost to induce equipment failures and subsequent oil and gas leaks, localized air and water pollution, and as with any oil extraction project, the possibility of a damaging spill in an ecologically sensitive area. Okay, that is the Willow Project. Everything you need to know to be informed and make your own decision on how you feel about it. Now, I promised I would let you know my own thoughts on Willow. And if you followed my channel long enough, I don't think it should come as any surprise that I am opposed to it. The things I value most, wildlife conservation, landscape conservation, protection of public lands, a transition away from fossil fuels, and a healthy environment, are directly negatively impacted by the Willow Project, and I can't support it. That being said, I also cannot fault those who do support it. I look at those numbers, thousands of jobs and billions of dollars for communities that have already been left behind, and I can't blame them for wanting to benefit from something we have for so long already profited from. I think it sucks that we are in a system where the communities that will be most impacted by Willow and projects like it are the same ones who are reliant on it to feed their families and sustain their livelihoods.
This is why the system needs to be upended. That is why we need to get rid of the system at large, because the thing is that it forces us to rely upon it in order for us to survive, even though it's literally killing us. It's a raw deal. It's a raw deal. And this is why when I look at people like John Legend and Chrissy Teigen walking past those climate activists, they know what's up. They do. And they probably know a lot of these facts. They probably listen to these all the time. And if they don't, then that just shows how they want to remain woefully ignorant. Roger Meadows says, speak for yourself, Jay. And if she didn't have any panties on, I want to know. An investigative report must be done. Roger, don't you know no good? Let me see. Chimamadu, is that how it's pronounced? Or is it Chimamadu? Just correct me in the chat. Hey, Jaybe, I'm a restaurant worker just like you were. I find it very disheartening to see fine dining cooks being classist and even racist towards fast food or even casual restaurant workers. Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of an elitist thing in the restaurant industry. Yeah, it is disheartening. But I think, they got to realize that they're workers just like people in, casual dining as well as fast food restaurants. They are workers just the same, and one works at a slightly slower pace versus the ones that work at a faster pace. So, yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for that. Bad Cookie says, nope, you're wrong. It wouldn't make Biden look bad, JB. The mainstream media would smear Legend and Teigen if they did that. They lose their place in the machine. They're not going to do that. It's interesting. If the corporate media looked at them like they were horrible, that's like people who are, that's like a mass murderer looking at you as horrible for saving lives. Like, good. You look at me like I'm horrible. Good. Because I'm trying to stop you from destroying people's lives. And the funny thing is that they don't want that heat. Even though financially they're good. You're okay. And this machine is breaking apart anyway. Thankfully. I just want to accelerate the speed in which it falls apart. But yeah, duly noted, Bad Cookies. Thank you. Also, Roger Meadows says, nuclear power is cleaner, y'all. Just make sure it's publicly owned and operated by local, state, or federal government, or maybe a utility cooperative. There's a lot of nuance that needs to be spoken about in regards to nuclear power. I've had a friend who is, far on the left, just like me. And my friend was talking about instead of using uranium for nuclear power plants, there is a possibility of using thorium, which is a lot safer. That still has the same effect as far as producing clean energy, but it's not as susceptible to becoming nuclear waste. So, I mean, that's another part of the conversation that can happen. I know there are people on either side that say, oh, we should go nuclear route or we shouldn't go nuclear route. But, they all definitely agree that we should be pushing for a more cleaner energy, more sustainable energy. It's just, I think that that's a debate that needs to be had on friendly grounds, because a lot of us just want this whole fossil fuel thing to stop. And we want to maintain a planet that is safe for everyone, including our plant and animal cohabitants on this planet. So that is also very interesting. Gene says what happens there affects all life on the planet, and it is wrong. Absolutely. All one same says we are all related. I agree. Well, actually, it's not even about me agreeing. It's really just a scientific fact that we're all related. Whether you're religious or you're an atheist, either way, like either one is like we all came from two people and we're all related, or if you go through the just purely atheist scientific route, we all share the same genome and we're all related to one another. So either way you look at it, we're all together. Tommy says he probably was just trying to get you to make the point you just did. Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. Sean Miller says, Gene, I honestly didn't know you didn't naturally speak English. Oh, Cobra Commander says nuclear is best currently, but we should really move towards hydrogen fuel. I've never heard hydrogen fuel, but that will be interesting to talk about. The Jam Mom says, JB, you should look into Detroit People's Food Co-op if you haven't already. Ooh, that sounds nice. I'm going to get into co-ops in a minute, guys. I just want to make sure that I finish the story. Tucson Progressive says nuclear power is not clean. Stop listening to corporate shells. Let me see. All in one same said Diablo Canyon on an earthquake fault. How's that safe for nuclear power? Seems like random chaos generator, in my honest opinion. Natalie Williams says, I recently read about a battery that runs on oxygen. What? Interesting. That's interesting. Gotta talk about that. All right, so let me go to The Rock. The Rock. The Rock. The Rock is on fire. All right. Let's enlarge this. Oh no, it's too small. Okay. All right. Let's. Okay. So, Gene Choir B. Whitworth says, I graduated college in 2010. We learned before that many forms of energy tech that would be close to free, very clean, and very efficient. Any which way we use energy. Fossil fuels, on the other hand, are very inefficient, very wasteful, only using a fraction of the energy harvested. The rest being pollution. Why? Because of profit. They continue nuclear fission is obsolete too, but not nuclear fusion as a viable energy source. Thank you so very much for those comments. All right, so everybody, make sure to like the stream as well. And please make sure, if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure to subscribe as well. We got some stuff to talk about. And also, if you guys have not, then you guys can also subscribe to our Substack, revolutionaryblackout.substack.com, so you guys can get notifications as well. So now, let me see. Oh, wait. Roger says you can make batteries from hemp and use its oil for fuel. Algae is good also. Oh, wait. I think I heard something about algae. I think it's like a biofuel. I think that'd be something. That I'm down with the green, baby. All right, so what is the next story we're going to get into? All right, 12:05. Let's go. So ESOP versus worker co-op. This is going to be a very interesting story. Now, I was a little confused at first because I was just like, wait a minute. You have some companies that say, oh, but we're employee owned. And I'm like, well, isn't that the same as a worker co-op? And then I learned, no, that's not entirely true. So I'm going to show you guys the difference, but I'm going to share with you guys something first that is kind of convoluted in the way it's portrayed. And I think that people really need to know what the difference is, so that we know, what may be best for us. and what we can do to push for the better option. So I'm going to share this tweet right quick. And this is from More Perfect Union. It says, Stewart Shops now employs 175 millionaires. Stewart's is a chain of convenience stores in the Northeast, and it's worker-owned. That's what they say. The chain's success, combined with being worker-owned, means that 175 employees now own $1 million or more in company stock. It says the 175 partners with a balance of more than $1 million is up from 2020, when the 90 employees owned more than $1 million of company stock. In 2018, there were 67 employees with more than $1 million in company stock. So there are companies that also, give stock to their employees. So they're, part owners, and they're part owners also in their companies. Like, for instance, one of the biggest grocery store chains in Florida is Publix. Some of you may know about Publix. Some of you may not know about Publix. But Publix is a store chain, sometimes overpriced, in my opinion. Well, many times overpriced. But the customer service is typically really good, and the stores are super clean. But yeah, their prices are a little on the high side. And so when they say they're employee owned, it's like, what's the difference between an employee ownership and a worker co-op? So they shared an article, and I want to go to that article, and let's see what it says in more detail. So it says the Millionaire Workers Club at Stewart Shops keeps growing. Employee ownership means that local convenience store chain now has 175 workers with more than $1 million in company stock. Because the number of Stewart's millionaires has expanded again, with 175 workers at the convenience store chain owning more than $1 million worth of company stock through the company's Employee Stock Ownership Plan, or ESOP. Stewart's this week sent out its annual stock ownership statements, outlining how it has made a $19 million contribution to 3,000 active employees' accounts. That's equivalent to 16% of each employee's 2022 wages. Additionally, ESOP, Employee Stock Ownership Program, participants saw their account balances grow by 12.5% in 2022. Stewart Shops employees own more than 40% of the companies through profit sharing. 175 partners with a balance of more than $1 million is up from 2020, when 90 employees owned more than $1 million of company stock. In 2018, there were 67 employees with more than $1 million in company stock. Stewart's has expanded since then, steadily building and adding more stores across the capital region, parts of Vermont and the Hudson Valley. Of the employee millionaires, the company 70% started out as hourly employees. Even with the challenges of the economy, supply chain issues, and rising costs due to inflation, we are elated to be in a position to share this generous ESOP contribution with our partners. It is only possible because of their hard work, efficiency, and their pride as owners that we have had another successful year. So that was from Gary Drink, the Stewart Shop president. ESOP program is 100% funded by the company for anyone working at least 1,000 hours a year. Now that sounds like a lot, 1,000 hours. But if you were to take 1,000 hours and divide it by 52 weeks of the year, that's under 20 hours a week. So that's not really a lot of hours that you have to work in order to be part of it. So, which it sounds nice. It says after 6 years in the plan, A partner's balance is usually greater than a year's pay. The company has noted that the ESOP plan has created a lot of stability, which could be a competitive advantage in this area of employee shortages and recruitment challenges facing many businesses. The stewards has positioned. Okay, so that's what they talk about with steward shops, right? And I'm going to share with you guys about Publix as well, because this is more local to me. There's literally a Publix right down my street, like a block away. And so this is from the corporate site for Publix. It says facts and figures. It says here are a few facts about the company. We were founded in 1930 in Winter Haven, Florida by George W. Jenkins. We are the largest employee-owned company in the United States. We are one of the 10 largest volume supermarket chains in the country. Hang on, let me make this bigger. Our retail sales in 2021 reach $48 billion. We currently employ over 240,000 people. We receive numerous awards for being blah, 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 yakety schmacky. And then it has all the Southeast locations, which Florida has 848 stores. Nobody else comes close. So there's more stores in Florida than in the rest of the Southeast combined, basically. And then their distribution centers, manufacturing facilities. So, that's one of the things that we were always touted about Publix was Publix is a employee owned. So you have stock in the company, which means it's even better than the corporations. And, if you guys really want to get into it, then you guys, can get into employee ownership. And I'm like, okay, well, that sounds kind of cool. But is it the same as a co-op or a worker co-op? Let's get into it. Let's look at some facts and figures. So this is from ESOPpartners.com. It says ESOP versus cooperative. Why your employee ownership choice matters. This came out last year. It says business owners planning their succession and leadership transition are taking a closer look at employee ownership models like employee stock ownership plans, ESOPs. But ESOPs aren't the only employee ownership structure to consider. ESOP owned companies and workers offer important potential benefits to employees and business entities. But what should a company owner consider and understand before choosing the two? For those keen on democratic worker control, a worker co-op may be the right choice. On the other hand, the significant tax benefits of an ESOP can create cash advantage that can help the company thrive through the ownership transition and beyond. Plus, ESOP flexibility may allow for planned governance rules that empower employees with similar rights to create a democratic structure. If that kind of worker control over the business is desired, so it's important to think about why you're considering employee ownership and what might be within reach before assuming it's one or the other choice. So here is what the facts are. So meaning of ownership. Worker cooperative says workers become direct owners of the company. I'm going to repeat. Workers become direct owners of the company. Versus the ESOP says the ESOP trust is the legal owner of the block of the corporation shares up to 100% of the company for the benefit of the current and future employees. A worker cooperative and a worker co-op, workers owners have a controlling ownership interest. That is to say, worker owners make up more than 50% of the total combined voting power of all classes of stock in the corporation. Versus the ESOP says ESOP employees accrue share allocations while working and typically receive the value of their share allocations, most often in cash at retirement or separation from service. So let's go on to number 2. Voting rights. A worker cooperative says every worker owner has one equal voting right. In an ESOP, employee owners may not have voting rights as determined and articulated in plan documents. The ESOP appointed trustee serves on behalf of employee owners in most cases. Under worker cooperatives, worker owners may or may not choose to elect a board of directors or delegate accountabilities to working groups. These structures can depend on the size of the business. Under our ESOP, democratic governance is neither required nor prohibited. Under here, it says it is important to understand that democratic principles don't always mean every single decision gets to a vote, even in a cooperative. Rather, it is about shared governance and mutual agreement and the accountability of management and leadership to the stakeholders. For this reason, both ownership models perform better with in-depth, consistent communication. Number 3, employee eligibility. It says criteria for member eligibility in a worker co-op is articulated. Governing documents can include minimum work tenure, hours worked per year, buy-in payment, being voted in by current members. All workers who meet eligibility criteria may become cooperative members, but are not required to. In an ESOP, it says at minimum, ESOPs are required to cover a substantial percentage of non-highly compensated employees who are at least 21 years old. So anybody who's between 16 and 20, they are not eligible, and who have completed 1 year of service. So you have to have worked there for at least a year. So you do not have any, you don't have any shares until after a year. Certain employees may be excluded from ESOP participation. ESOP eligibility requirements are subject to IRS non-discrimination testing and are articulated to plan documents. 4, payment of dividends to employee owners. In a worker cooperative, a majority of allocated earnings, i.e. the portion of net income designated as surplus or losses, go to worker members on a patronage basis as described in the co-op's governing documents. In the ESOP, not all ESOPs choose to pay dividends, but they may. Dividend payments for an ESOP-owned C corporation may be tax deductible under IRS Section 404K2, Section 2. Taxes. Worker cooperatives. A worker cooperative pays income tax on its profits, and worker owners must be paid reasonable salaries subject to payroll taxes rather than pay the whole salaries as patron dividends to avoid payroll taxes. Allocations of profit to patronage dividends allow the cooperative to have worker owners take on some of the tax responsibility as individuals. The 20% federal pass-through deduction creates a tax break. ESOP says the ESOP-owned corporation of an S corporation is not subject to federal income tax. So 100% ESOP-owned S corporation pays $0 in federal income taxes. It says an ESOP-owned C corporation can benefit from the tax deduction mentioned above. Financing. It says in most cases, workers each contribute a buy-in amount, i.e., each purchases a voting share, and the cooperative secures a loan for the rest of the sale price. Members' equity are rarely enough to cover the sale price. Seller notes are commonly part of the sale structure. For an ESOP, it says leverage ESOP sales are often more of a combination of lender and seller financing. Employees do not buy into plan participation. Non-leverage at sale ESOPs are rare, but in most cases, the company would contribute the cash to an ESOP, and the ESOP would purchase company shares. So this is the line-by-line facts about the difference between this is, going by the facts between what is, a worker co-op and an ESOP. And there's a lot of information regarding this. There's another one that I wanted to go to. And this one's going to be a little bit more in-depth and detail. So make sure this is big enough. It says ESOP versus worker cooperative. What's the difference? A worker cooperative is an employee-owned business in which each member or worker owner has one equal share in the business. This also means that every worker owner has one equal vote in the co-op, no matter their pay or seniority. Of course, different worker co-ops have different structures. Some are more hierarchical and have managers, an elected board of directors, and sometimes an elected board president. However, at the end of the day, those leaders are accountable to the full membership. And in fact, a manager or co-op president only has one vote and one share in the business, like any other worker owner. While the board makes major strategic decisions and management has operational authority, both are ultimately empowered by and responsible to full membership. Worker co-ops that are more collectivized or horizontal in their structure with no internal hierarchy are often very small enterprises with a few notable exceptions. Tasks and decisions may be delegated to individuals or groups, but the board, the top governing body, is made up of all the worker owners. It says, in addition to the worker co-op world, there's a thing known as patronage dividend. Basically, this is members' share of the business profits at the end of each year. According to co-op principles, it is allocated based on patronage, which in a worker co-op means hours worked. Sometimes the formula takes into account additional factors such as relative pay, but because worker owners each have the same membership share, no single person can receive a higher return on their investment from owning more of the company. So it says the ESOP has a completely different ownership structure. This is because a separate entity, a trust, acquires some portion, sometimes all, of a company's stock and holds for it the benefit of employees. The company generally appoints the trustees who administer the plan, which is largely retirement or separation benefit. So one of the major things that sticks out to me is in a worker co-op, you'll get what the entire company makes in profit. You'll get that at the end of the year, right? Every year you'll get the profits. Boom, boom, you get a check. And you may have to pay taxes on it, but you'll get the check and as far as the profit, right? Versus the ESOP, it's the only time you actually get that money is either when you leave or if you retire. So that's one of the things. And also ESOP is not subject to a truly democratic say within the company. It depends on how they structure it. But worker co-ops, democratic say from every single worker. It says ESOPs are not cooperatives. There is no direct ownership by workers of company stock, and there is no requirement for democratic governance. Employee shares do not generally confer voting rights, except in a very specific rare circumstance. That said, a growing number of ESOPs are 100% own 100% of the company's stock, and that does change the nature of the enterprise. ESOP companies that invest in workforce education and have participatory structures enjoy productivity gains compared to non-participatory, non-employee-owned companies. So that is really the difference between the two, right? And so this is why it is very important when people say, oh, it's employee owned. It's like, but what type of employee ownership are you talking about? Are you talking about an employee stock ownership program or a worker cooperative? Because from what it looks like to me, you have more agency and more control in a worker cooperative than you do in an employee stock ownership program. If I work in an employee stock ownership program, I don't have a voting say in who manages me. I don't have a voting say in who runs the company. or if we decide to have a board of directors, I don't have a voting say in that. Also, what if I'm 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old and I want to work for a worker cooperative? Well, I join in, I already have a say. And I start getting the profits, at the end of the year from the point on when I'm working. I may not get all the profits from my first year of work because maybe, let's say I start in June or July. I may only get 6 months, of that. But then the whole next year, then I'll get it all for the whole year. But if I work for ESOP, I have to wait till I'm 21. And even then, if I'm 21, there may be some restrictions. And I won't get it if I leave. I'll get it only if I retire or if I leave. But I won't get it every single year. I'll just get the pay. Now, let's go here. This is from the Atlanta Journal Constitution. Says, could employee ownership help narrow the racial wealth gap? This is very interesting. It says Morehouse research suggests equity from worker cooperatives can build wealth for Black Atlantans. Nigel Jones, practically giddy, taking large cardboard box out of an industrial fridge. Inside the chill box are what Jones calls the best pecans in Georgia. And Jones, 29, should know. In 2014, Jones, who uses they them pronouns, started the Pecan Milk Cooperative, a Black queer worker-owned co-op. They have been using different nuts to make plant-based milk since 2013. First, just as a batch of almond milk using their roommate's blender, but then quickly turning to pecans. I actually would like to try pecan milk. That actually sounds interesting. The idea of running a traditional business did not appeal to Jones, which is what led them to create a cooperative which the employee owners were owners of the company. The new report from the Morehouse College International Cooperative Labor Studies program highlights how the equality and wealth building that comes from an employee ownership can address current economic challenges for small businesses and ultimately help narrow the racial wealth gap. So this is also very important, especially those of us who are Black. The 6 members of the Pecan Milk Company co-op, all have an equity in what they're building to make decisions about the business collectively. So this is also very interesting. It says Metro Atlanta's income gap persistent over decades. And so if you look, it talks about Metro-wide at 77,589. White households get 92,988 versus Black households get 60,966. Because Atlanta has the highest income inequality among major U.S. cities according to recent Atlanta Journal Constitution analysis of data from the United States Census Bureau. The median income for a Black household in Metro Atlanta was around $61,000 in 2021, while the median income for white household was more than 50% higher, roughly $93,000. Differences in the rate of home ownership, another marker of wealth, were also stark. In 2021, 53.3% of Black households in Metro Atlanta owned their own homes, compared to 78.6% for whites, according to the data from the U.S. Census Bureau. So this really shows about how it also is, beneficial in closing that racial wealth gap. And so this also shows about, this is, about worker co-ops. There's another one that I also want to address as well. Is this what? Okay, yeah. This is from the Transactional Law Clinic Collaborative. It says, what is a worker co-op? And so this gives the facts about worker co-ops and how worker co-ops work. So I think, and it also talks about how to convert to a worker co-op, and it gives resources on worker co-ops. So this is also a very cool article as well that you can actually download. I found this to be interesting. It says workers get to participate in the profits, oversight, and management of the organization using a democratic process because the risks and the rewards are shared. A co-op makes entrepreneurship opportunities more accessible and stabilizes jobs when owners retire. So yeah, this is, a very interesting thing to really look into, because a lot of times people will sit there and go, well, aren't they all the same? Well, in reality, no, they're not all the same. And I think that people really need to know what is what, because at the same time, a lot of times, I'm sorry, what? Hold up. Hang on. You said, dude, who cares what happens in northern Alaska? And I corrected you on that. And then you said nobody even lives there anyways. And I corrected you on that. So facts are not attacks. I'm sorry. But I'm sorry you felt attacked. But at the same time, like, nah, bro. You're the one who's sitting there talking about, you don't care about what happens to there, because you're basically having this flippant idea about what happens to people in those areas. I mean, I'm done with that segment already, but the thing is that you're demanding an apology for something that you said that I actually corrected you on. And if you're not willing to apologize to me for making that amorphous, idiotic statement, I'm sorry, but dude, no, like, come on. Are you seriously going to sit here and, get mad at me for correcting you on something? Especially when you said it in such a flippant way, not caring about our environment or the people who live there? Are you kidding me right now? Do you know what channel are you on right now? Come on, Rick. Let's be real, right? Anyway, like I was saying earlier about co-ops, but yeah, I'm done with them. But as far as the worker cooperatives, let me see. There was another one that I wanted to take a look at. I think that was the last one. Yeah. So as far as what I consider to be more, holla, Jam Mom. But the thing is, I think that, as far as what the way I see it and the way it reads to me, is that a worker co-op is actually a more better deal, especially as far as having especially as far as having a more democratic say in your workplace. Thus meaning that you actually have more of a control over how the establishment operates. And if you have more of a control over how the establishment operates, especially when it comes to daily operations regarding what's going on, then that's an even better deal, because then you're not going to sit there and try to ship your jobs overseas. You're not going to ruin your environment, through different types of practices that are going to affect you and your families that live in that area. You're not. You're actually going to be better for your community, and you're going to, as far as stakeholders concerned, you are a stakeholder, and you're going to try to make sure that everybody, including the environment, benefits from it. The same thing with like ConocoPhillips. If ConocoPhillips, even though I don't agree with fossil fuel companies, let's say they were, either worker owned, or let's go even further, if they were, government owned, then okay, sure, that'd be cool. Because the thing is that they're not going to screw themselves. They're not going to shoot themselves in the foot as far as the way it goes in those countries. Actually, that's a really good question, Gene. Anyone here in a cooperative? If you are, let me know. I actually would like to know. I'd like to know. All right, so I was looking for something. She's Black says, I'm a case manager for a nonprofit and the board makes all the decisions. We don't have a representative. I wish we had a co-op. Roger Meadow says, JB, Pete, DM, state AGs have authority to revoke corporate charters when they have a... Let me get to it, Roger. Let me get to it. I'll get to it. Goodness gracious. Jumping over me, man. Anyway, I'll continue reading. It says corporate charters, when they've established a record of egregious behavior against workers, consumers, putting the economy and communities at environment at risk. I was gonna get to that, Roger. I got you, Roger. We're on the same wavelength, bro. I got you. So, where is? Wait. Oh wait. Here it is. I found it. Goodness gracious. I see what you're saying, Roger. Roger's. Goodness gracious. Roger's just be hitting me up, bro. This is in response to what Roger was saying, and this is actually really interesting as well. It says, what is corporate charter revocation? Corporations are created by state law when the state government issues a corporate charter. A corporate charter provides special benefits that are not available to citizens, such as limited liability and perpetual life. In general, grant of these privileges through corporate charters serves the public interest because corporations promote economic growth. But in virtually every state, corporate charters are conditioned on good behavior. Some corporations abuse their privileges by repeated violations of the law. For this reason, state laws have long authorized state officials to revoke the charters of corporations that exceeded or abused their legal authority. How does a corporate charter revocation action work? The plaintiff must prove to a court that the corporation has exceeded or abused the authority that the state has given it. The Attorney General has already had the ability to file cases in court. The Model Act allows citizens and shareholders to do the same, though they must meet the specific threshold of alleging 3 different corporate felonies in a 10-year period. The MBCA already specifies the court's powers and produces in this type of case. The Model Act does not change any of these procedures, only who can bring the action in the first place. And so this is a video that I would like to show.
Recently, there's been a string of horrendous crimes involving death, money laundering, and the destruction of public property running rampant through the U.S. The worst part is that many of these offenders haven't faced real justice for what they have done. These criminals may not be whom you expect because they're corporations. Most are just made to pay a small fine for what they've done and then go on with business as usual. Corporate charter revocation is a way for the public to hold these repeat offenders accountable. Offenders like BP, Massey Energy, and HSBC who have gotten away with some of the worst crimes in recent history. The first repeat offender is BP. Most wanted for environmental and economic devastation, BP has committed hundreds of crimes, including the Deepwater Horizon spill, the largest oil spill in U.S. history that dumped 4.9 million barrels of oil in the Gulf of Mexico. Although BP has been fined around $4.5 billion to be paid over 5 years, if their yearly profit of about $25 billion stays the same, less than 3% of what the company makes will go toward the fine. BP tripled its spending on ads in the 3 months after the disaster. Corporate criminal number 2 is Massey Energy. Massey has engaged in repeated violations of law, contributing to the deaths of 29 people in a coal mine explosion in April 2010. Investigators later wrote over 100 pages on how Massey repeatedly placed profits ahead of workers' safety and compliance with the law, and how this lack of safety culture took the lives of these miners. Massey's CEO, Don Blankenship, retired in 2010 and walked away with a retirement package worth over $80 million. In November 2014, a federal grand jury indicted Blankenship on 4 criminal charges. Meanwhile, he remains free, and Massey has been acquired by another energy company. Corporate criminal number 3 is HSBC. HSBC admitted violating money laundering laws covering $200 trillion in transactions. With customers including terrorists and Colombian drug lords, one might expect a criminal prosecution. Instead, the Justice Department opted for a financial settlement of $1.9 billion, which is about 5 weeks of income for the company. Their bonuses were clawed back, partially. When people commit crimes, they can be sent to prison, or worse. Why are these businesses allowed to continue their activities when they've shown they have no concern for people, property, or the greater economy?
Just a note, wouldn't it be nice to see, these corporate shills, like people like Jamie Dimon and, Mark Zuckerberg, for all the crimes that they may have committed, that they get to be put on trial? Wouldn't that be nice? That we actually see justice served? What about the people who are over places like Exxon and BP? Instead of just paying fines, they actually face, prison time. Like, I am a person that wants to change the prison system. At the same time, I would like for them to receive punishment for doing what they did to people. And then, maybe there could be like a re-education, so that they can see how much they've damaged society. So, just a thought.
Corporations' very existence depends on the public. It is created when a state government, which could be any state, but for most major corporations is Delaware, issues a corporate charter. This is a legal grant of power and privilege from the state to the corporation. If a business continues to break the law, this charter should be taken away. This process is called corporate charter revocation. This is usually done by the Secretary of State or the Attorney General of the state that issued the charter. If a corporation that's incorporated out of state abuses its privileges in your state, its license to do business there can also be taken away. States have revoked corporate charters and business licenses for out-of-state corporations in the past by the will and pressure of the public.
That's also a really interesting point, because it has to be done by the will and the pressure of the public. I honestly think that that's an avenue you can go in the meantime while we're trying to upend this system. But yeah, you can actually, push, to take away corporate charters for different corporations that are, like, for instance, wouldn't it be lovely to see the corporate charter taken away from Nestle? Or let's say Amazon. Wouldn't that be nice? To basically signal to them, play stupid games, you'll win stupid prizes. Fuck around and find out. I think that would be pretty nice.
That's where you come in. Most people don't know about corporate charter reform, and they don't know that it's possible to deliver this just punishment that companies like BP, HSBC, and Massey deserve. It's up to us to make this known. Please share this video to spread the word.
Okay. I like the way you think, Screw Google, or the corporations known as DNC and RNC. Yeah, that would be nice too. That would really be nice. But yeah, that was also a really good video as well. And then there was this interesting article as well that I wanted to share. Because this actually gives a little factoids a bit too, especially in the beginning. It says billion sustaining worker cooperatives in the United States. It says compared to the rest of the world, worker cooperatives make up a tiny portion of the U.S. economy. In a 2021 study, counted 612 worker cooperatives in the country. However, that number has risen significantly in recent years. Interest in worker cooperatives is also rising among businesses and workers, as well as investors, policymakers, and researchers. Those newly interested in worker cooperatives are coming into a movement at a time of deep economic inequality, wage stagnation, and job precarity. Against this backdrop, it is no surprise that a model for democratic workplaces where workers benefit more directly from profits of their labor is enjoying increased attention and support. In worker cooperatives, where workers jointly own and manage the businesses and have agency over their working conditions and input into the business governance, these benefits translate into tangible economic outcomes. Cooperatives are more resilient to economic shocks, experience lower turnover among workers, and have higher productivity. Let's stop right there. Have any of you ever heard the phrase, people don't quit their jobs, they quit their managers? People don't quit their jobs, they quit their managers. What if you had the ability to have a democratic say over who manages you? Think about it. And if the manager doesn't do right by the workers, guess what? Out. Workers can go, but look, we all came together and we have a vote of no confidence over you as manager. So we're going to demote you. And then it's like, okay, so who do you guys want to manage? Okay, and then they have an election and manage, put the person who they want to, manage them. And that's fine. But wouldn't that be a lot better? Instead of you having to quit because, oh my God, this manager, they are so terrible to the rest of us workers. Or what if you're a person and your manager's a creep? Wouldn't it be easier to just let this be known to your fellow coworkers and then go, I don't think this person should be a manager. They're being really creepy around, especially a lot of us women. Then it's like, okay, let's vote. Next thing you know, that person gets ousted, and then they put in a new manager. Because it's more of a democratic say. You're less likely to leave. You're less likely to quit. And on top of that, if you're sharing other profits on a year-over-year basis, then you're essentially a worker owner. And not only one, you'll take more pride in the company that you work for because you actually own a part of it. But at the same time, if you actually own a part of that company, you're going to make out better financially. Says these economic benefits for worker cooperatives translate into an economic benefits for individual workers and their families who earn equal or higher wages than workers in similar jobs and often have more family-friendly workplaces. I was thinking about, like, for instance, if you work at, like, let's say a restaurant, and there was some talk about not turnover. There was talk about growth, right? And the necessity for growth isn't really that needed, right? Like, for instance, you can have a local restaurant, and if you guys are, also a worker cooperative, but let's say, the food company that you guys get your distribution from, they also are worker cooperative. You guys can work with cooperative to cooperative, and then you guys have a special relationship. And then if more worker cooperatives grow, it's just better for the community overall. So that means that instead of all that money going outside of the company to some big wig suit Lex Luthor looking idiot, it's actually staying among workers, and it's staying and circulating within the community, right? And it's just better because not only is that, but you guys also have a democratic say in the workplace, which also makes it harder for politicians to go to one particular person and be like, hey, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. It's like, no, you have to do this for the collective. And if you do this for the collective, that means you have to do this for our community. If you do this for our community, then guess what? That means that you actually have to do what you say you're going to do. Isn't that lovely? Yeah. So I'm going to go to the chat really quick, but then I also want to look at some worker cooperatives that I didn't know that existed. I think that's going to be that's the fun part of this that I actually want to look into. So. Natalie Williams says, Jaybe, the article was in Popular Mechanics. Google battery runs on oxygen. Oh, I used to like Popular Mechanics when I was little, even though I didn't really read it that much. I just looked at the pictures, but I thought it was pretty cool. Violin says, pro tip, if you get the power to revoke corporate charter, you can probably figure out how to seize its assets and convert corporation to workers cooperative. Ooh, Violin, you making music, baby. Bob K says, I really hope people like Jaybe, Rome, and other young people actually pull this off. If they do, I won't be around long enough to see it. Oh, Bob. Number one, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Number two, I hope you see it because you've been fighting for a long time, and I think you deserve to see the fruits of your labor. So thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Y'all talking about peanut butter and pickle sandwiches in the chat. Ew. Okay. Oh, you guys are talking about nut butter. Travers Wolf says Richard Wolf talks about this a lot. Yeah. And I appreciate Richard Wolf talking about this stuff a lot. And I think that, he's part of the growing consciousness of a lot of people now considering worker ownership, true worker ownership, not worker stock ownership. So I think that's also really important. All right. And so I know a lot of people are like, you go to Wikipedia. Why? Well, this is just kind of, innocuous. But it talks about all the worker cooperatives around the world. It says list of worker cooperatives. And these are some in Asia, and this is particularly in India. And then it talks about Australia, New Zealand, Europe. So you have some in Denmark, France, Italy, Spain, Switzerland, UK. So some of these are very interesting. I saw this Green City Whole Foods, and it's like Green City Whole Foods is a worker cooperative Whole Foods wholesaler in Glasgow, Scotland. The cooperative was founded in 1978 in Hillington and the outskirts of Glasgow before moving to 1983 to its current location in Denniston in the city of Easton. So, yeah, sorry, I had to do my Scottish accent there. But yeah, this is some cool stuff. There's even a worker cooperative in Israel. Israel says Egg Transportation Ltd. is the largest transit bus company in Israel. Egg's intercity bus routes reach most of Israel's cities, towns, kibbutzim, and moshavim. And the company operates urban city buses throughout the country. So that's actually a worker cooperative out of Israel. And then, okay, so this is one of those moments I wish Rome was watching, or I wish Rome was here. Okay, there is this company called Come As You Are. Yo, this thing made me laugh so hard. Roger, if you're watching, you're gonna look, your eyes are gonna get big. It says Come As You Are is a sex positive sex shop located in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It was founded in 1997 by Corey Silverberg as a worker owner cooperative and the model of the United States based Good Vibration. The names. Oh my God, you got these people are so they're clever and they're funny. Oh my God, it's just called Come As You Are. And it's a co-op. That is so funny. It's a co-op sex shop. That is hilarious. This is one of the reasons why I'm so happy I started doing some research on this. This is great. This doesn't just make you laugh. It makes you giddy all inside. So there are some others. There's some others like there's the Agraric Technology Collective. This is out of Boston, Mass. So savvy if you're watching, then you have this. There's also Baltimore Bicycle Networks out of Baltimore, Maryland. You have bakeries in Buffalo, New York. Like for instance, this one's out of Buffalo. You have ones out of Washington. And so if you guys know about any of these, look at them and see, like the Drivers Cooperative. This is out of New York City. It says the Drivers Cooperative, or Co-op Ride, is an American ride-sharing company and mobile app that is a workers' cooperative owned collectively by the drivers. Roger, is this your cooperative that you work for? The cooperative launched in May of 2020 in New York City with its first 2,500 drivers issued their own ownership certificates in a media event. Roger, is this your company that you're with? If that is, then that's cool. Please let me know, brother. You guys still talking about that name of that sex shop? Come as you are. Oh, hang on. Let me do Violence comment really quick first, and then I'll get you yours. What did Violence say? See, Violence says Baltimore is one of those places where workers get hit hardest, first, and longest. They responded accordingly. Roger says, let me add to Violence comment. Does everyone see how we have other pieces on the chessboard? Terrible players only use their queen, aka federal government. We got other pieces, rooks, aka CBIs, citizen ballot initiatives, bishops, aka governors. Roger Meadows says, I have to go to Canada. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Get up there and spread your maple syrup. Okay, rabble rouser. This is, let me see, a demagogue or rabble rouser is a political leader in a democracy who gains popularity by arousing the common people against elites, especially through oratory that whips up the passions of crowds, appealing to emotion by scapegoating out groups. I don't know what that is, but okay. Rainbow Grocery Cooperative is a worker-owned and run food cooperative located in San Francisco. Founded in 1975, Rainbow Grocery is a member of No BAWC. Hang on. No BAWC in the United States Federation of Worker Cooperatives. Hard Times Cafe out of Minneapolis says is a collectively owned restaurant in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood of Minneapolis, Minnesota. It is known for its punk and hippie ideology, its gritty ambiance, and its large selection of vegan and vegetarian food. Is open from 8 a.m. to midnight every day. I'd go there. Shoot. And a lot of these ones in red, it's because they don't have an explanation in their Wikipedia. But if you go to the little number here, you actually can go to their website. And so, like, for instance, this one goes to woorides.com. And so it says Woo Rides is a low carbon emission vehicle fleet offering electric, hybrid, and people-powered transportation services and products, serving Worcester's. Oh, wait, is this in? I think this is out of Boston. Is it Worcester? Sabby would know. Worcester's resident families and workers and youth. We are concerned for our ecology in which humans are a part, and believe that greening our transportation is key to creating a resilient community. That is why we believe that in using sustainable transportation technologies as a worker cooperative, workers will benefit from consistency and stabilization, and communities and ownership and decision making. We envision alternative futures rooted in sustainable transportation technologies, equitable cities, and small business enterprise. We guide our work via lens of fun, environmentally sustainable affordability, accessibility, and community engagement. Whether to plan an event, enjoy life, or promote a market of your business, we're here for you. So yeah. So a lot of these are just really cool because they actually show, different worker cooperatives that you guys can actually use for your business. Let's see. There was a coffee shop out of Boston that I saw it. I'm like, they even do tea. I'm like, Sabby, I wonder if she goes there. But you also have ones like out of Oakland, California, Outformations. What's this? Outformations is let me see. Agile transformation. I didn't get to look at this one, but yeah. But there's so many different ones, and for many of business needs that you guys might need. So take a look at, research, like, especially if you're in any of these cities. There are a lot out of, New York, Vermont, Wisconsin, Massachusetts. There's this one in Washington, D.C. Just look for local worker cooperatives in your area, and truth be told, just try to support them. Use them for your business needs. Instead of going to a lot of these corporations. And if you absolutely have to use a corporation, then you have to do what you have to do. But if you can avoid them and use worker cooperatives so you can keep their business up, then by all means. I would like to see more, here in Orlando. And if there are, then I would like to go to them, So that would be nice. So, yeah. Oh, hail.
What's up, man? Wasn't expecting to see me, huh?
Yo, when I saw that worker cooperative, that was a sex shop. I was just like, Rome's gonna come up in here.
They said come as you are. Shit,
come as you are, bro. I was like done, bro. I was just like, yo, what?
I still think my name for my candy store is better. Candy from a stranger, but we'll see. We'll see.
What's up, my brother? You looking all fresh and shiny and new.
Man, I took a bath finally. I finally took a shower. I wasn't moping in my own depression and shit. But I've been listening to the show, man. I've been listening to the show about the worker co-ops and whatnot. And I know it's always going to be somebody that's a naysayer like me. I'm a naysayer. I'm one of the biggest naysayers that's probably on this platform, you know, especially when it comes to working with some of these co-ops or working within certain parties or whatnot. If you guys feel like, you know, these people aren't pushing, you know what I'm saying, your narrative isn't pushing your ideology, isn't as far as left with you, you can always build your own. You know, it only seems hard because they, you know what I'm saying, they make it seem that way. You know, and I had told you guys, I established a whole party on my own, you know what I'm saying, with the help of Jaybe. He actually made up the name of the party. You know, CT and a handful of people. We got a party going ourselves, you know, worker co-ops going on. You know, I'm got a clinic that's going out, that's going to be opening up in Boston pretty soon. If you guys feel like nobody's moving at your speed, or they might be moving too slow for you, moving too fast for you, you can always build your own. And this way, you know, you will know what's going down. You ain't got to ask no questions. You ain't got to, you know, worry about people being shysty or grimy at the top, skimming money. You know, you will be in full control of it. And then you can see how it really goes down. Then you can see how much work you actually have to put into this shit. But it's not hard at all. The hardest part is maintaining it and keeping it up, keep pushing. That's probably the hardest part. The easiest part you can do is get on the ground and just, you know what I'm saying, make it what it is. But I won't run. Oh no, I will never be styling. Yo, motherfuckers ain't getting me like that. But it's definitely not winning. But it's a lot of good co-ops out here, y'all. It's a lot of good workers out here, socialist movements. You know, I done run into even some people that teach people how to shoot, CPO classes, gun ranges. They all socialist led. And you guys, you know, we can do that. We can do that also. You know, it don't take much. All it takes for you to open up your fucking mouth sometimes. Speak your mind. You might not be the most popular, you know, but so be it. You know, if people like Ben Shapiro or, you know, Matt Walsh and all these motherfuckers can get a platform, why not you? If they got millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people listening to their will and their goals and, you know, investing in them, why can't you? You know, we have actual idiots with armies around them. You can do the same and actually build something for the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. Roger sent me this. This is actually kind of interesting for people who are, you know, are okay with drinking. It says Chicago's first worker-owned cooperative distillery brews Cuban rum and worker-led activism. So this is actually in Chicago. So if you guys would like, you know, if you guys are cool with having some, you know, a little drink, then you guys can actually, you know, support and, you know, drink responsibly. You guys can do that.
It's beautiful seeing stuff like this because I remember just watching a video about somebody had asked me, how do I feel about drugs and whatnot? And I was explaining to them, drugs isn't the problem. It's the addiction that comes with it. And with a co-op like this, with a workers' op like this, we can make sure that they're not poisoning our people. You know, they're not going over the limits with the liquor or the poison that's supposed to be in the bottle that, you know, that don't supposed to be in the bottle that our government let liquor companies get away with to this day. You know, this is something beautiful. And hopefully we see people building their own type of big pharma soon. We see people
Yeah.
pressing their own pills pretty soon because we're gonna need people like that. We're gonna need drugs. We're gonna need liquor. We're gonna need pills and cocaine. It's sad to say, but our workers are not going to be able to maintain without these drugs or some type of drug to wean them off of them. And this is beautiful to see.
Yeah, I mean, like, what if a dispensary becomes a co-op? You know what I'm saying? A cannabis dispensary. Or hell, I don't care if it's, if you just own a cupcake shop, right? Open it next to the dispensary, by the way, and be a corporate cooperative. See what I did there?
Mm-hmm.
But it could be something that is, good that you guys can do, and you guys can have a partnership where you
see how they go back to back and hand to hand. Somebody open up a cupcake donut shop, and it doesn't have all the filling and all that sugar, all that bullshit like we usually get from Krispy Kreme, Tim Hortons, and all that whatnot. You got healthy weed that's not sprayed with pesticides, and you got healthy treats to go with it, so you won't be ruining your diets or gaining fats that you don't need, taking in fats and carbs that you don't need. We can lead. We can lead something like this. It'd be.
By the way, speaking of that, I think I'm down close to 50 pounds now. So
what?
Cool. Yeah.
What you working out for? You got what's going on, man?
I'm trying to be more like you, brother.
Nah, you don't want to be like me. I'm cold. I'm cold all the time. You see, I got a hoodie on. You want to be cold all day?
Oh man,
that's what skinny niggas go through. We just cold, man. Don't get skinny. Get losing just a little bit more. You'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? Just lose it for the health, but don't lose it to get skinny. That's a fool's game.
Oh no. It's just a byproduct of me getting healthier. So that's all. But
that's good. I'm glad to hear you doing good, man. Because I know dialysis and all that shit. I couldn't imagine living, walking a mile in your shoes, man, going through all that bullshit. Like a lot of people say, "Oh, Rome, you're so strong." I'm like, nah, man. Like I told my girlfriend when she first got cancer, you gave me that news, I would have killed myself. You know what I'm saying? You give me any type of news like that, I'm not that strong-minded. There's a lot of people out here that's really strong, that really been through it, man. And I can't imagine even being disabled, going through all these types of. I don't even like making fucking doctor appointments. And you got to go to the doctor every motherfucker. Man, get the fuck out of here. Just kill me.
Nah, it's just, look, I do what I have to do. But one thing I came to the conclusion of is that being the best version of yourself health-wise, both mental health and physical health, is an act of rebellion.
Yeah.
And so I'm a rebel. So I'm going to be the healthiest version of myself. I'm going to be the best version of myself, no matter what these corporate dictators want me to do. And so that's how I see it. Yeah.
Like, I love that you said that, dog, because it's history behind that. People with disabilities, autism, missing some Down syndrome, whatever it is. These people used to kill babies when we found out that they was going to be born with disabilities. This is why I was just talking to an old white guy at the store. He's like, I never seen so many disabled people in my life. I never seen so many people with ADHD. I said, that because y'all stopped killing them in the 1980s.
Yeah.
You're like, well, they didn't kill them. Like, yes, they killed disabled children in our lifetime, not some 1800s type shit, our lifetime. Yeah. So that is, your life is a testament. Your life is, you are a rebel. Being here, being disabled, all of you with your disabilities. I don't look at it as a disability. I look at it like a ability. You're a superhero. You strung through all this. Like, ain't no way, because I'm just looking at it like, damn. You know, I couldn't imagine living like that. I couldn't imagine having my heart on that. And these people just doing it. And that goes to show how much of a rebel you guys really are, man. Truly, truly are. All my disabled comrades. Oh, by the way, I found somebody to give that wheelchair to, so I need to take that down. But thank you all for sharing that post for me. So we can look out for some disabled comrades. I wish I had more, but I stole that from somebody. And then we're gonna make sure somebody else get it. I stole it from a reseller. So
cool.
I want to make sure somebody
get it. Well, I think that's really
how you gonna resell a fucking wheelchair, man? Am I on the wrong? How you gonna sell a wheelchair? That's fucked up, man. Just give it away.
Nah, I think the right thing to do was just to give it away. I mean, you know, and the only thing is that, you know, the only reason why you said just pay for shipping because you ain't got the money to pay for shipping yourself.
Oh no.
You know, but if you had the money to pay for shipping, then you would have just shipped it all for free. You know, but you don't. So just pay for shipping and I got you. Okay, cool.
Yep. One of my comrades, when I was down in Mississippi, we was heading out water down there in Jackson. He said he'd pay for the shipping. It's gonna we're shipping it out to Canada. So good thing I'm right around the corner from Canada. I'm like 20 minutes away from Canada. So that's a good thing.
Oh, for real.
But sending it overseas across the country, it might still cost a little bit, but we found somebody, and you know, I want to talk to them. I just want to, you know, let y'all know I got y'all back, man. You know, everybody ain't an asshole. All the able motherfuckers ain't assholes. So we got y'all back, man, for real.
Yeah. And so, you know, next time you go to Canada, go to that cooperative sex shop. While you up there,
I don't even know if I'm welcome in Canada. To be honest, I just made a wrong turn because I was going to go get my feet done. I was like, I'm about to go check out some more places, whatever. And I'm like, they like tunnel to Canada, no return. I'm like, oh my god. The dude was like, you coming? I'm like, no, get me out of here. He like, all right, get the fuck up out of here, man. if I get caught, I'm gonna be like, I'm a migrant. I'm coming for the healthcare.
You're a refugee from the United States.
I'm a migrant. I didn't know I was.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, but hey man, you just caught me at the end of my stream. I appreciate you coming on. You know, it's always good to see you. You know, and one of the things I wanted to make known is that, look, you know, part of changing the system, you know, means that you can do, you know, a small part yourself, right? It's just like, if one piece of hail hits your car, it's one dent. But if you want to destroy that car, then a lot of little pieces of hail all at one time can make a big effect. So be that piece of hail in this system, man, on this dilapidated car. Do that.
Or just like that tweet that you just reminded us on the movie Ants, you know, just be that ant that stand up. You might get your ass whooped a couple of times. You might get smacked around to, you know, be the example of why you shouldn't stand up. But the more you get smacked around, the more you stand up to the bullshit, other people gonna be like, all right, well, he can't be, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if he can do it, we can do it. You know, obviously their hits ain't hurting, ain't hurting enough to keep this motherfucker down. You know, so be that ant, be whatever you need to be. You know what I'm saying? This is why I say it's a place for everybody in the revolution. A lot of you people are focusing your energy in the wrong places, but this is all that we are taught, you know, so I can't really blame you. You know, I am gonna shame you, you know, you know, just being honest. I'm gonna vote shame you. I'm gonna talk my shit. But I want to let you guys know that there's a place for everybody, man. Everybody, able, disabled, old, young, black, white, blue, purple, it doesn't matter. If you have something to say that shit, man, because you never know who's listening and you never know who feed off of it and you influencing. You know, I would have never even thought that I would influence people to do something in Africa. You know, I got people doing something in Africa because of the shit that I was talking. People created a co-op and a mutual aid organization out there in London. Places that I probably would never get to be. You know what I'm saying? People I probably never get to see, but I inspire them just from talking my shit and doing what I do. You can do the same. You can do the same. You don't have to be out here handing out diapers or building the fucking libraries. Just talk your shit and mean what you say. Be there for the people. Any way that you can. Any way that you can, man. You know, anybody asking you to do all this shit, we're just telling you to speak your truth and stick to your guns. People need you to be weak out here. They need you to fall on your knees when it's time to be strong. They need you to beg for mercy when it's time to fight. They need you weak, but we don't need you weak. We need you sharp as a fucking razor. We need you tough as a stone because we need you more than anything. You know, the people need you. The majority of this country don't vote, don't give a fuck too. A good percentage of us is living under slave labor. Another percentage of us is living under another type of slave labor, you know, with your wages being stagnant, all this and that. But we can't look at all these fights as an individual fight. I'm going to fight for gay rights, or I'm going to fight for trans rights, or I'm going to fight for black rights. I'm going to fight for these rights, that right. No, you fight for it all or you don't fight at all. Fight for it all or don't fight at all, man. Right?
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. Look, I know you just put up the windows to the library.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like
one of them. That was one of them.
That was one of them. That's beautiful, bro.
Man,
like real talk. I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Shout out to somebody, whoever donated. Somebody had donated $2,000 one day, and I was like, I had called the dude. He was like, "Look, it's gonna cost about $2,600, $2,800 for me to come out, for me to build them and come out and put them in." I said, "How about you just build them, and I put them in?" He like, "Do you know how to put them in?" I said, "I put in block windows before, but nothing, no 6 foot by 5 windows. They come in 3 sections. And things was heavy. I mean, like that window itself is about 2,000 something pounds all together. Then I got to do another one.
Man,
but we're getting there. We're getting there. All I need to do is throw down a little bit more, a couple of more boards down for my ramp to make sure that that's even. It's not a trip hazard. And shit, I'll be ready for my carpet, man. I'm damn near done.
Oh man, I can't wait. I hope it's like some swirling looking carpet. Some really nice.
It's gonna be black, but the borders on we're gonna handcraft on them. We're gonna be drawing on them certain logos, and you know I might write the manifesto in a couple of them in cursive. We're gonna burn them. We're gonna get my wood burner. We're gonna burn it, engrave it into the wood. We're gonna paint them. Those are gonna be red. The carpet gonna be black. The ceiling is black. The walls are gonna be white. So it's gonna look like a big ass communist hangout. Red, black, and white.
That's cool, man. I'm excited. I'm excited for that. So you know, if you guys would like to, you guys can keep up with Rome. You know, especially on his Twitter. You guys can go to Unholy Rome with 3 instead of an E. Also, if you guys would like to, you guys can also contribute to our graphics designer, Aaron. You guys can go to Venmo at Revolutionary Blackout or Cash App $ Mutual Aid Forever. You guys can do that as well.
Please.
And I know, Rome, you're still taking donations for the library, right?
Yep. I'm still taking donations because every time I figure, man, it's just like, you know, it's just bad, man. Like that building, it costs so much fucking money, man. Every time I turn around, I think I'm done with something. I got to go back and do something, and it really sucks sometimes, man, because I feel like I'm on a treadmill sometimes. Like no matter how good it looks, I know something else needs to be done. Something else just broke down. My lights just went out. Shout out to Sean. He been coming out lately. He's gonna switch out my whole electric system for free. Give me some new switch my fuses to breakers and stuff like that. But it's just so much money, and this is why I didn't want to say the original goal. The original goal was 50 grand. I put on Twitter 10 grand because it's really overwhelming when people see stuff like that. When you see numbers like that, people like 50,000. I don't know if we can pull that off. We can maybe get the 10,000, maybe get the 10,000, but no, this building need more than $50,000 to go into it easily. That's just for the first level. I put a lot of my fucking own money into this. Like when I had lost my job, I had to put my last 2 checks in that damn building because the donations just wasn't keeping up with what I needed, man. It really sucks sometimes.
Yeah. So if you guys are watching and want to donate to, Rome, you guys can go. I think one of the easiest way is like on Cash App, just $ Tour for the Poor.
Yep.
You guys go there. Yeah. And, just, look up Tour for the Poor. You'll see Rome's face.
Yep. Tour for the Poor or GoFundMe. We're building a library for Detroit. You can go on my page, go on my Twitter page. You can Google me. Google Tour for the Poor. All the information should be right there. But thank y'all to whoever I should say put in so far, helped us get this far. Because when we first got this building, man, it was just fucked, man. Holes in the floor.
Mm-hmm.
No drywall to even think of, and it's good that I'm just happy we got this far this fast. But thank you for having me, man. I know I crashed a show. Thank y'all for having me. You got a nice crowd, man. I love y'all. But y'all cannot Stalin or Lenin me, man. Like if I'm not a leader. I'm not a leader. I wouldn't say I'm a leader or nothing like that. But even if I was, like, let's say a revolution happened and I'm the new socialist leader of America, some shit like that. When I'm ready to retire, y'all are not about to Lenin me. I will shoot myself before I ever let y'all drag me back to that goddamn building, drag me back to power that I don't want or need. Okay? You are your own leaders. Only you can liberate yourself. Only you can give you freedom. But God damn it, I cannot imagine living like no Lenin. No way. That's how I looked before. That was in the middle. And yep, we got him. We got him, man. We're gonna drop this other one in tomorrow. That one should be settled. I'm getting ready to throw my carpet in. So
I'm very happy. I'm very happy for you.
I'm happy. I'm about to get the fuck up out of there and go back on tour.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining in. I know I went a little bit over time, but for good excuse, whenever Rome comes in, that's a good excuse to go over time. So anytime you guys would like to, you guys can always, join in. So, by the way, if you guys have not, please make sure to follow us on Substack at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com. If you guys would like to, you guys can also go to our website at revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com. You guys can do that as well. And did you like the stream? Did you like the stream? Sorry, got my mind on that. Come as you are. You like the stream? So make sure that if you guys would like to, you guys can also like the stream as well as subscribe. Thank you to also all the Patreon members as well as to all the people who are now members. Thank you so very much. My clips for my interview with Carl Jha are coming out today, tomorrow, and then Wednesday. So be sure to be prepared for that. If you guys would like to see my full interview with Carl Jha all at once, you guys can also go to my channel at Jaybe Font on YouTube, and you guys can actually watch that as well. I was just making sure that I have no other make sure that I don't have any super chats left because I don't want to leave people hanging. No. I don't. No. No, Yefex. No. Oh, by the way, tomorrow's May Day. Oh, thank you for reminding me, guys. Tomorrow is May Day. There's going to be a special stream. Nick and CJ is doing a stream tomorrow. Be sure to watch that. They're also going to have Heartlands Media, and I think Due Dissonance is joining too. So that's going to be a really great stream. Make sure to stay tuned for that here on RBN as well. And I'm just making sure that I didn't miss anybody. Did I miss anybody? I missed anybody? Hang on. I don't think I did. Yeah, I think we're good. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. Water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Hell, smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. If you ain't got them, then, laugh, because laughter is revolutionary. Also, read some books. Read some books from some revolutionaries. I got Asada Shakur right here. She's putting out bangers. Go ahead. Read a book in honor of Rome building a library. Gotta stay educated. Anywho's, forehead kisses to every single one of you. And come as you are.